Hey everybody, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another adventure with Daniel. And so during the coronavirus, I've been interviewing some friends and folks who I admire. And my name is Daniel García Ordaz. I'm a writer, I'm a teacher, and I'm a curious person. I'm a former journalist, so I like to ask people questions about what they're up to. And so I'm very, very happy to have my friend, my colleague, the lovely and talented and super smart Katelynn Rentería. So welcome, Katelynn.
Hello, everyone.
So y'all, Katelynn, in case you don't know her, is a super talented young writer, and she's an award-winning writer. She has a couple of books out, and super well, she's a speaker also, and she's super talented in the sense that she goes out there, she serves the community as a working author, as a author who's out there willing to visit with students, visiting the community groups, writing groups, and she's also very involved in the writing community, presenting workshops, helping us older folks, thinking about writing and stuff. So, Katelynn, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katelynn Rentería, and I am an author right here from the RGV. I live in Harlingen, and I've lived in Harlingen all of my life. I started out writing from a very, very young age. I remember writing on the walls, and my parents were like, there could be something here of me writing letters as opposed to drawing on the walls. And I grew up loving to read. I grew up loving to write. I wrote my first manuscript when I was 14, and I published that manuscript when I was 16. And from then on, I've been continuing to write, continuing to work to get more things published. I work as a freelance writer, which is a lot of fun, getting to turn writing into an actual career of sorts. I just graduated from University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley this past May with my Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, and I am pursuing a master's degree in experimental psychology in the fall, also at UTRGV. So keeping busy, but very much still involved with writing, and of course, giving presentations and workshops to students and people all across the valley.
Cool. So, yeah, and so you grew up in Harlingen, and go ahead and do some shout outs to your schools. Where'd you go to school?
I went to elementary school in Los Fresnos, actually, at Lopez Riggins Elementary School. That was the very first school I ever did a presentation to. And that's where I learned that I loved it. And I fell in love with talking to the students, getting to share my story. I remember the principal, who had known me since I was like 4 years old. She invited me over and said, I heard you got published. That's amazing. Do you want to give a presentation, to the students, say, I was just like you, show them that they can do it. And it was an amazing feeling to like see them in their uniforms and, that was me. I was them. And so Lopez Riggins Elementary absolutely has a special place in my heart. I went to St. Anthony's Catholic School from 5th grade to 8th grade. I had some very influential teachers there. I met some of my closest friends that I'm still friends with there today. And high school, I went to Early College High School in Harlingen. I graduated from ECHS as valedictorian with an associate's degree in biology. So I like to rep that. And UTRGV, class of 2020, and moving forward with my master's there too.
All right, so you graduated high school valedictorian. What year was that?
2018.
2018. So 2 years later,
yes,
homegirl walks in with her associate's degree, talking about I'm just here for 2 years, and then I'm out.
It's fine.
That's fantastic. So 2 years. I was like on the 18 year program for a bachelor's. No, I'm just kidding. But close. It was almost double digits, let me just say. So, yeah. So you. I remember you talking about competing in your first UIL event as a 5th grader, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about that experience.
that was really the defining moment where I realized, you know, writing is something I can do and pursue and continue. I was in the 5th grade, and like I said, from 5th grade to 8th grade at St. Anthony's, I had some really influential teachers. And one of them was named Kevin Veselick. He was my 5th grade reading and language arts teacher. And he was the sponsor for a UIL type club called Ready Writing. And he knew that I was writing. He knew that I loved reading. He always saw me with my notebooks and my books. And one day after class, you know, he pulled me aside and said, hey, you know, I'm the sponsor for Ready Writing. I know some of your friends have signed up. Like, you should come and you should try out. I know you're going to make it. Like, it'll be so fun to go and compete. And I remember, you know, looking at him, and I smiled and I was like, no, thank you. And he said, you know, why? Like, why not? And I remember being 10 years old and, you know, loving to write, loving to read, and loving to make written things. It terrified me to think I would give my work to a stranger and the stranger would judge me and all of these things. But he was very supportive in saying, like, just try it. You know, you never know if you don't try. That was a big thing with him. So I went to the first practice, and I still remember what he had us do. He was a very easygoing, laid back, you know, really calm, chill person. And he walked in with a stack of papers and clutching pencils. And he just said, you know, clear your desks. And we all got scared and we put everything away. And he handed out papers and pencils, and he was super serious and super formal. And our assignment, our very first practice, no instructions or anything whatsoever. He just said, I want you to write an essay about a holiday. And we thought, oh, that's easy. You know, we'll write about your Christmas or Thanksgiving or something. And I chose the 4th of July. And he said, I want you to write about the history of the holiday, how you celebrate it, all that stuff. But you can't use the same word twice. And in my 10-year-old mind, you know, I'm freaking out because how do you write, you know, something like that? He said, so if you say, and he looked at my paper and he picked on me. He said, if you say, you know, the 4th of July is a great holiday, you can't use the word the 4th of July is like ever again in the entire paper. So I think I got 3 sentences before my brain broke. And it was uncomfortable and it was scary. And I wasn't sure how I was going to get through this, but I loved it. I loved going to the practices and being pushed outside that comfort zone, learning new things, trying new things. And when the competition rolled around, I was actually confident. I was excited. And I thought it was going to be, you know, 5th graders versus 5th graders type of deal. But I will never forget the sinking feeling in my stomach when I looked around and I saw all the big kids. And I remember thinking, like, I thought this was 5th graders. And I asked my teacher and he said, oh, no, this is 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. You know, like, I thought I told you guys. And it was so scary. And I wanted to walk out and just like, nope, like these are big kids. They're smarter than me, older than me, all these different things. But he calmed me down and he said, you know, what are you here to do? And it's like, well, I'm here to write. And he said, exactly. And like, you love writing, don't you? Are you going to try your best? And I said, of course. And he said, well, you're here because you love what you're doing and you're going to try your best doing it. That's all I could ask of you. That's all anyone can ask of you. And so, you know, being 10 years old, that's a great pep talk. I'm excited. So I go and I do the different prompt and I write my essay. And out of those 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, I got 1st place in the competition. And that was the click. That was the get on the track and keep going, where I really started taking writing a lot more seriously. I was already serious about it, that I would write things for me. But I started thinking, you know, how can I get better so I can share it with people? How can I keep working and keep making my work into something that other people would enjoy, but it's still true to me, but it's still better. So I kept working from there, but 5th grade is the real. My life changed when I was 10 years old. I realized what I wanted to do.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. A lot of people are still searching and they're adult or whatever, and you found out at an early age. That's fantastic. And it sounds great that, you know, your teacher like initially took you all out of the comfort zone and showed you not regular Mr. Teacher guy. He showed you like tough coach guy, but in a loving, you know, approach, and it was still something that gave you confidence. And yeah, you know, like if it's like a race that you're going to run, I mean, the track is still the track for everybody. Yes, some people are taller, shorter, faster, younger, and so on. But I mean, you just run your race, stay on your lane and run your race and do your thing. you get over the intimidation factor once that gun goes off, right? And so so you did you relaxed and you were able to get in the zone, and you know whooped everybody on your first so art creation art does, from your studies as a, you know, you have a psychology degree and as a your bachelor degrees in psychology, and now you're going to be accepted already, congratulations, to the master's program in experimental psychology at UTRGV. And I mean, what do you, and I know you know, you're still young in your career, but what do you know about creativity and creating art? What does the brain do when it, you know, people are creating?
There's so
does it
much.
act a little differently or
There's so much, and that's one of the things that I'm genuinely looking forward to studying as the years come and go on. I think there's a really and truly expressive part of art in a way that is both cathartic for the producer and for the receiver, because, you know, we can tell stories and we can say things, and, you know, some people just really have that knack for poetry, and they put the words together, and that's their outlet, and they make it into something beautiful, and it sounds amazing, it's cohesive, it has that message, and, you know, they are able to channel their feelings in a healthy way through that. But then the other person who's listening, that's something they need to hear, and so their brain takes it in and understands it in their own way, because, you know, you could show a poem to 5 different people, and one person might cry, one person might laugh, one person might, like, everyone takes it in a different way, because we're all experiencing different things. We're all going through something differently. We were all shaped by different experiences. We have our different personalities, our different, you know, dispositions. And so I just think it's really beautiful that someone can not only create things for themselves, but for others too. And it really is a healthy thing to be able to just sit down and doodle something or draw something, paint something, write something, you know, fiddle around with a guitar or a ukulele. That it unlocks a part of our brain that it's not really confined to rules, because you could write anything you want. You can draw anything you want. You can play anything you want in terms of instruments or things. And I think that that freedom to just let feelings out, let feelings flow, it's a stress reliever. For one, we get to calm down. It helps us sort through our own thoughts. If we're going through something challenging or hard, we can sort it all out, get it all out, and we realize, hey, I didn't know, you know, that's how I felt. I didn't know that this is what I was dealing with. And there's just so many different things, from catharsis to stress relief to connecting with other people, that it's just amazing. And that's something that I definitely want to continue studying in a much greater depth later on.
Yeah. And I applaud your parents for letting you, you know, experiment and grow as a writer, and let you, you know, have your successes and failures, because as an artistic person, you're going to have a bad poem that you write, or a bad song, or a novel that doesn't really just go anywhere, or, you know, you're going to have a sentence that doesn't work. I mean, whether it's a tiny failure or something bigger, as far as, you know, somehow society has made that word into a completely ugly word, only negative. And yet at the end of the day, we know that not every kid is going to become a world famous ballerina or dancer. And yet, like you mentioned, you know, producing and creating together, dancing together. And yes, I know we're in the COVID situation, but I mean, you know, dropping off that kid week after week at the dance recital, you know, at the dance practice and the recitals and all that. It's an investment. Investing in the arts, whether it's by parents, by school districts, by the community at large, it pays off. And it's not because the kids are all going to grow up to be quote unquote artists, painters, dancers, writers, but the act of creating, it's freeing to the mind. It's a form of stress relief, and, you know, and we need that during COVID, especially. Like, how are you dealing with the whole COVID situation from March and so on? I know that it's been a while now that we've been in this situation.
It's definitely been difficult, and it's definitely been challenging. I think, you know, the Rio Grande Valley has been making national news for our, you know, case numbers and the things that are going on. Our public officials have been on, you know, CNN and talk shows. To our doctors and hospitals are being interviewed on a nationwide scale. And I think that it is scary to you know, sometimes I'm afraid, you know, to go on Twitter or social media, because what are you going to get hit with? All the articles, all the news, all the things. And it can get a little bit, you know, you get inside your head. And especially if you're home a lot, which, you know, you're supposed to be staying home, staying safe. That's what I've been doing. But it does get, you know, challenging to hear the same things over and over. It doesn't seem to be getting, at times it doesn't seem to be getting better. But I honestly, a big thing that helps me like cope is just looking at the things that the community is doing in terms of like resiliency, you know, like where a lot of people are staying home and wearing the masks and being there for each other and, you know, offering that virtual support. I know people are starting things like this, like going live and connecting with each other, video chatting. Zoom and Skype have just taken off so families can stay connected. And, you know, if there's one thing about the Valley, for sure, it's the fact that we are resilient and we're strong and we overcome a lot. We faced a lot of challenges and, you know, working together to overcome, and we will get, you know, over the hill. We feel like, you know, we're getting there, and then it skids a little, and it's scary. But I know I've been just looking at how the community's been together, turning to family and friends, you know, virtually talking, you know, playing. I know my brother plays video games a lot. And, you know, that used to be something, you know, like, oh, he's playing video games again. But he's talking with friends that he hasn't seen in months, and he's laughing, and they, you know, they video chat after. And I've used a lot of this time for creativity. When I sit around at the house, you know, and I get tempted to turn on Netflix, I'm like, no, we're going to get a paper and we're going to see what we do. And, you know, I might write a paragraph of something. I might doodle a flower. I might make a whole art piece. I don't know, but I'm trying to channel just setting time aside to just create and see what comes of that. Because, you know, I might write a sentence and that sentence becomes a whole story. I might start doodling a smiley face and it becomes something that I can, you know, make into a bigger art piece later on. But just using the time to be more creative and more productive. There are several projects that I've had just kind of sitting there in a pile. You know, I'll get to it later. But in COVID times, I've been able to actually start a lot of them and get them off the ground. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, kudos to you. And that's how you become a valedictorian, is get off your butt and get off of Netflix. So at me, I was like, you know, what's on TV? So so one of your creative gosh, I haven't had lunch or dinner, so my brain's I had a late breakfast and it was big. So outlets, that's the word. So one of your creative outlets is calligraphy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we could go back to the very beginning and say what calligraphy is, because it's surprising. I'll say, you know, calligraphy to different groups of people, different ages of people, and I get like, wow, and other people are like, wait, what's that? So calligraphy is basically handwriting in a very formal, defined font type way. So think like the Declaration of Independence. It's written in that nice, fancy cursive, old documents, things like that. And I absolutely love it. My friends already know when it's my birthday or Christmas, they're like, what markers are we going to get? Like what pens, what ink, all of those things. And I absolutely love calligraphy. I got into brush lettering. I have tons of brush pens that's what you see normally. Like when you buy a mug or, you know, a phone case that says like, you're beautiful. Like it's probably in modern brush calligraphy. And I love it. Just being able to like make words, you know, it sounds kind of cheesy, but just make words beautiful. Like, you know, a word like persistence. If you write it in just that right way, if you add the shadows, you add the embellishments, the things, it could become something really beautiful. And I feel like it adds another level to the word because, you know, persistence is a great word in of itself. It means you keep going, you don't stop. It's motivational. But being able to make an art piece that really showcases how you're feeling in that moment about being persistent and stuff, it's nice. And honestly, the majority of my calligraphy pieces start out where I'm just like doodling on a napkin and I'll like write a word. I'm like, wow, that looks nice. And I'll go and do it on a bigger paper. But that's definitely an outlet that helps, just being able to add the tiny little details, sketch out different words. And, you know, when you find that one word that you just, you know, you're vibing with it. It feels good at the moment, making it into something beautiful. That's the sweet stuff. And that's been a creative outlet for sure.
Yeah, and we're wordsmiths as writers, so I mean, we're interested in word meanings and word origins and different definitions in different languages, different definitions even just within English and so on. And so, you know, it's an art, and yet it's also educational, right, for the brain. So if someone's interested, maybe one of their kids or themselves interested in calligraphy, financially, I mean, you know, on the basic level, how, you know, what does it take? And also, should they get a book? Should they go on YouTube? I mean, what's a good way to start?
I learned from YouTube, and to be completely honest, if you have at the very basic, if you've got pencils and paper, you can start. Like you're set. There's fonts like copperplate calligraphy, which is just super simple. Like honestly, I do copperplate calligraphy with a pencil most of the time, just because of the way that it is. It's really nice. A lot of people don't realize, and you go on Instagram and you see it and you think, I can do that. Crayola markers are one of my favorite tools to calligraphy with, because, you know, you can color and all those sorts of things, but calligraphy is about the amount of pressure you apply. So even with a Crayola marker, if you go super light and then heavy, you can get those strokes and you can make it happen. So if you have a pencil, a Crayola marker, and paper, then you're set. And, you know, if you're like me, you know, you can get a nice fancy stack of ink and pens that you're afraid to open because they're so pretty. But you can start with just paper, pen, marker, and YouTube, lots of YouTube. Yes.
So when you autograph books, and I know you visit schools, you do presentations in the community, you're with the Valley Byliners, and you're a member of different writing organizations, RGV Writers Hub. So when you autograph books, what kind of pen do you prefer? Like if I was going to be nice and buy you a pen, do you like medium, fine? Throw some specifics at us.
The pen that I have right now is a medium nib, and it was actually, I don't have it, but it was actually a gift from my pre-K and first grade teachers when I first published the book. It says like author Katelynn Rentería on it, and it's like really nice and fancy. And so it's a medium-sized ballpoint pen. I really do like ballpoint pens or like fast drying pens, because gel pens are nice, but they smear, and that's a lot of things that people, you know, they get a pen and they just sign, and then, oh no, and it gets smeared. 0.5, if we're getting really specific, I can get into this. Yes. If we're talking like size, I really like 0.5 millimeters for pens. I feel like that's a really good, it's not too thick, it's not too thin. For pencils, I prefer 0.7, just because it's a little bit thicker. If you're doing calligraphy, you could get like that. Brands of pens, Uniqlo is a really, really, really good brand. Jelly Roll, if you do want that gel pen action, Jelly Roll is a really good brand.
And that sounds like my jam.
Yes, and they're the cutest things. They have like the glitter pens have glitter caps and like all of these things. And if we're talking calligraphy supplies, Tombow is a really, really good brand. They have beautiful pens. That their pens are the ones that I use for like formal documents, like when I have to sign something and or like turn in a form or whatever. I'm using like a Tombow 0.5 millimeter pen. But yes, I think ballpoint pens I really like. 0.5 for the ink, 0.7 for the pencil, and Uniqlo is really good, and Tombow too. So I don't know how that information is going to help people, but if they're shopping around, that's my input.
No, I won't say her name, but I've got a writer friend in San Antonio, and she's all about the points and real specific about, you know, I think I brought candy once to like a workshop we did, and now I'm supposed to bring a gift every time. So now I know. Okay, now I got to bring. Yes, she's all
and
about
fountain pens. Fountain pens. Yeah. You can't go wrong with fountain pens.
Oh yeah, those are cool. Those are cool. They don't. Yeah, I need to. And all right, cool. So listen, let's talk a little bit about your book. Tell us your elevator pitch for your book. Tell us what it's all about. Your most recent book.
Yes. Well, I have The Other Side of the Law, and it is a young adult fiction novel about a Texas girl. You see her on the street, and she's just your average teenager. but in secret, she's a spy. So it's all about the main character's missions and adventures as she goes all over the world, stopping bad guys, taking names, all that fun stuff. So the main character's name is Kay Verdant. The story takes place here in Texas, but as you see Kay Verdant grow as a person throughout her high school career, you also get to see her missions and adventures as a spy, you know, living that double life of she's got a homework assignment due, but she's taken down, you know, a cartel in Spain. And so it's interesting how you see her balance those, grow as a person, figure out life. And this book stayed to be continued. And I currently have the sequel manuscript finished and working on publication details. So that's coming out soon. And this is just a story that's very near and dear to my heart. I did write it when I was 14. I finished it when I was 15. I published The Other Side of the Law when I was 16. And when I was 17 years old, it was the 2017 recipient of the Silver Book Award from the Literary Classics Book Awards. So that's something I'm very proud about and very excited to share. And I'm looking forward to the sequel's publication. And fingers crossed, and the plan is that it will be a trilogy. So it'll be 1, 2, 3 for The Other Side of the Law. Nice.
Yeah, and as I mentioned at the introduction, y'all, I mean, she's a bright kid and an award-winning author. I mean, so that's awesome. So yeah, I didn't know about this new manuscript that's already complete. That's fantastic. So good things come to those who, you know, keep cranking away instead of watching all those Netflix shows. So tell me about, like, I know Comic-Con was canceled. You had tickets to some kind of was it an anime show or what was that recently?
I was going to go to Fan Expo Dallas, and that's like the Comic-Con of Texas, and it was going to be so nice. So many people that I follow, actors, they were going to be there. I love the show, My Hero Academia. So many of the voice actors were going to be there. It was going to be the largest panel of My Hero Academia voice actors to date. And unfortunately, you know, it didn't happen. And, you know, they have it planned for next year. They're hoping that things, you know, get better by then, but it's necessary, you know, to stay safe and stay cautious. But I definitely, that's my element, being among like the TV shows and I'm a very big superhero nerd, DC Comics. I love it. My Hero Academia, I'm just obsessed. Like, a lot of my friends already know, like, they'll see t-shirts or whatever and they're like, hey, look. I'm like, get it for me. Like, all of these different, I just absolutely love the show. And as much as, you know, it is sad that not being able to go and have that experience, because, you know, not only are you there as an author and you get to share your book in a new place, you get to meet new people, but also that secondary experience too, that, you know, I was gonna get to meet my favorite actors, get some autographs, but it's okay. It's okay. Well, there's next year and there's the future to look forward to, but that was definitely something I was looking forward to.
Yeah. Well, you know, I know that Comic-Con and some other places are, you know, they're doing like virtual stuff, and there's only so much we can do virtually. And, you know, we're just looking forward to the day that when we can just put this whole COVID thing behind us and interact, you know, and give hugs and high fives and everything else like that. So, I want to ask you a little bit about, your future, you know, goals as far as working on experimental psychology. Is that like shocking people with electricity, or, you know, what's that all about?
There was an experiment, the Stanley Milgram experiment, that happened in I don't want to get the date wrong, but that happened before ethical things were in place. But that's not, honestly, as an experimental psychologist, I plan to finish with my master's. And once I'm done with that, I would like to become a professor and be teaching psychology, working with students, starting on that track. I plan to get my doctorate degree in psychology, so that way I can become like full professor, do research and things like that. But as an experimental psychologist, you're essentially, a lot of people don't really know what that is. Like, they hear experimental and they think like, are you doing like weird stuff, you know, that's not been, you know, confirmed and things. But no, experimental psychology just means we're the ones who run the tests. So, you know, if I want to figure out, does the color yellow or blue make you happy or angry or different things? Then I'm in that room, working the TV screen, seeing how you react. I'm taking your surveys. I'm making the data. Who gets scared of snakes or spiders more? Let's see. And, to the very, detailed parts of it of like neuroplasticity in humans, like, is there a certain gene that makes that happen? Why do some people remember things better than others? Getting down to the nitty gritty of it, like depression, is there a gene link to that? Anxiety, are there cognitive behavioral therapies that work with that? Is it the social relationships that's the key point? And just working those tests, doing those surveys, observing a lot, doing different field experiments, but it all comes down to observation, data, and making the nice report to say like, we figured it out. And so I'm excited to do that in the future. And for my master's, I will be doing that, working in a lab and collecting data, and I'm very, very excited about that.
That's fantastic. So, yeah, because we need to know, a lot of this, we need like an experimental psychologist, and several rather, before we put anyone on some kind of ship going to Mars, that's going to
Yes.
take a long time to get there, and you're probably not going to come back ever to Earth. So we need y'all to do your job. Make sure there's not, we get all the right people on that on that ship, and once we get there too, we need to make sure we have some of y'all on board to make sure things are kosher. And so now that you've gone through this experience of your bachelor's degree, heading into your master's degree, so you've been asking people a certain question recently related to psychology.
Yes. Okay. So for those of you watching, and for everyone at home who watches this live later, whenever, if you want to re-show this to family and friends, by all means do so. I would like you to close your eyes and to picture a horse and see what that means, how you're picturing it. And when you're done, I want you to open your eyes again and reflect on what that image looked like. Was it like a picture in your mind? Was it an actual horse? Like, were you seeing it like on a pasture with the fence in the back and the sun shining? Was it a specific color? Were you on it? Or was it just like a concept? Like you know what a horse is. So it's just kind of, you didn't see it, but you know what it is. It's a concept. And I'm very surprised, and my world was shattered when I realized that people actually, see these images, actual vivid images, like if you took it with a camera, in their brains. And that's supposedly the norm, because I can't do that. I close my eyes and I don't see like pictures. I have like the concepts and I know what it looks like and I can kind of see it. It's fuzzy, it's faded away. And that's called aphantasia. So if you closed your eyes and you saw a vivid picture, it's like you were there, you could see it like through a camera lens, good for you. And if you didn't, I'm here for you. Like I know how it is, I know how it feels. But that's aphantasia, and that's something I find extremely interesting. And so everyone I'm coming across, virtually or not, I'm like, hey, can I ask you a question? And I'm asking them that horse question to figure it out.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an icebreaker, but you're valedictorian from the school, you're an award-winning author, you're an intelligent being, and yet you have aphantasia, and you live your whole life happy and everything was awesome until you found this out recently. But is that something that you're going to perhaps continue researching?
I hope so, because I found out the aphantasia later. But I realized something before that, 2018, 19 around ish. It was close to. It was after high school. Yeah, a long time ago. It was close to. I was already in college for my bachelor's, and there is something that people may have heard of it. It's called synesthesia, where the most common form is you listen to music and you see colors. Like actually in the world, you will see waves of color and things. And there's different types. Some people eat a food and they see blue, or they hear a sound and they see, you know, yellow. Usually it's a color with some sort of sense, but there's an abstract version of that that is often referred to as ideasthesia, where you associate concepts with things. And I think the most common one that a lot of people like do, or a lot of people, I don't want to make assumptions because apparently people don't, but, you know, school subjects, right? Like we, you know, science is green, you know, maybe because of life and experiments. But growing up, I always associated colors with things. Like for me, English is red, math is blue, history is brown, you know, all these different things. Days of the week have colors, months have colors, emotions have colors. And I just thought that I was living my life thinking it was normal. You know, what's today's date? 3? That's yellow. Cool. And like just going on. And that's not the norm. So if there's anybody out there who's just now realizing, you know, like, I do that. Congratulations. You have ideasthesia. You're welcomed into the club. And I also think that that's really interesting that, you know, having aphantasia and not seeing vivid images, yet every day there's color. I'm not seeing it, but everything has a color to me. And it's just, I'm living life. It doesn't hinder on anything. It doesn't bother me. It's just like, yeah, today's Wednesday. Is blue, like just, you know, living life that way. And it's interesting.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about this a few weeks ago, you know, I guess you were wrapping up the semester or maybe, you know, it might've been a little bit in June or whatever, but yeah, we had a, you know, good long conversation about this. And I don't know if we're, you know, normal, if we're a little bit weird or just unique or whatever, you know, and weird is not a bad word, you know, it's cool to be unique that way. And yeah, and I've got that ideasthesia thing going on big time. And of course, you know, when I've shared some things, they do look at you like you're a little bit different, like a little bit weird, but hey, it colors my world. You know, it makes sense to me. So for me, it's definitely like even numbers and experiences, you know, so yeah, it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing. And I think for me, it's a little bit, I don't know if it's mild. I don't know that I want to call it mild dyslexia, but maybe dysgraphia, like where I'll switch letters around. But to me, letters have a color and numbers have a color too. And I thought I was just weird because I have told people and they look at me funny until you told me that I have ideasthesia. I did not know that. I know I don't have synesthesia, but
I was the same way. When you said, you know, that you had it too, I was like, oh, like great comfort. Yeah.
Yes. I'm not alone. So you've got, you know, your stories about, you know, this young lady who's a spy, and recently in real life, you kind of, your world collided with an actor who plays a spy, Jack Ryan, homeboy from The Office. Tell the folks what I'm talking about.
Okay. So if you've ever seen The Office, wonderful show, American comedy, then you probably know who Jim is. And Jim is played by John Krasinski. John Krasinski also plays Jack Ryan on the Amazon Prime original show, Jack Ryan. And he, in this COVID times when we're all apart, we're seeing a lot of negative things on the news, life can get scary. He started something called Some Good News, where every week on YouTube, he would just ask people on social media, you know, send me some good news. And it could be like, you know, my brother, you know, lost his first tooth, or, you know, my neighbor helped me, you know, mow my lawn today, and things like that. And he would show happy stories like this. And it was really beautiful and really amazing. And he started Some Good News, and it got a lot of traction. And it was Some Good News with John Krasinski. And so for the 2020 graduations, obviously they did not happen. And mine was one of them. My 2020 commencement was virtual. I did not get to walk a stage. And he thought, you know, like, okay, you know, class of 2020, that's it. We're having a graduation. I need valedictorian speeches. I need commencement speeches, you know, send them in. So I was valedictorian in high school. So I recorded myself saying, you know, a nice little motivational speech saying, you know, we're living through history right now. This is hard, this is challenging, but hey, we made it. You know, we made it to graduation. We can overcome this. And he saw it, and he liked it. And I got to Zoom with John Krasinski for his Some Good News episode. And he was in his living room with like graduation stuff everywhere. And I wanted to cry. And he was super happy and super animated. And he said my name perfectly. He was like, Katelynn Rentería. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was amazing. And it was a whole lot of fun. And he was super bubbly, super animated. And I got to talk to Jim from The Office. And so that definitely was a highlight of this quarantine period and something I will cherish for many, many, many years to come.
Yeah. And I think that's a good way to close. I know that, again, you are available to do virtual, school visits, because I know you did a lot of author events in person whenever, we were able to do that. But are you still available for that, for like virtual events as an author?
Yes, I'm currently transitioning my virtual events, or I'm making my presentations more virtually accessible. So they were already ready to be virtual before with PowerPoints and things, but I'm finding new ways like worksheets and printables that students can be working with at the same time, maybe ways to make it a little more interactive. And I'm doing other projects too that can reach out to students and teachers and just the public in general through these COVID times. I started a podcast called What's Not to Psych, where it talks about the human mind and different things. So the first episode was stay home, but go outside. And it talks about, the benefits of your backyard and the sun and everything while we're living through COVID. So that's another resource for teachers to be looking at, parents to be looking at, people in general, just, a way to understand the mind a little bit better, along with nice advice and a happy attitude to go along with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned calligraphy. It's all about applying just enough pressure, to come up to capture beauty, something beautiful and artistic. And the COVID, I mean, it's been tough. I mean, it's been a little too much, right? It's not calligraphy, but we can only respond as artists, as creative people, which we are human beings. We're created, right? And we are creative people, and that's what separates us from animals. No offense to animals, but just our brain capacity is different. Our ability to be creative, to imagine the future, to imagine the impossible, to imagine outside the box thinking. And so, we're using just enough pressure to create beauty, and that's the best that we can do. So I want to congratulate you for your success, but also thank you for being part of the creative process and sharing the creative process with the community as an author, as a calligraphy person, as a human being who is into anime and everything else like that. So I'll give you the last word, and I'll just say real quick, y'all. Her Instagram is there on scrolling at the bottom. Her website is there. Her email also. So teachers out there, administrators, as you close with your closing comments, tell us what grades you're usually involved with as far as author visits, and anything else you want to add to say goodbye.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for Daniel for having me. This was a lot of fun. This is honestly one of the best conversations I've had in a very long time. Of just delving into all sorts of different things, not just my book, but college and the whole aphantasia, synesthesia stuff. That's always fun and interesting. But yes, for my authorship, I do different presentations to elementary school, middle school, high school, college, and beyond of a motivational and literary presentation. So I'll speak about the importance of reading and writing and its place in our world. Writing is everywhere and we don't often see that. And it just takes a little nudge to realize how important reading and writing is to our world, but as well as that motivational piece where, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter what you want to do. If you have a dream, continue to pursue, continue to achieve, and it can happen. I have a workshop focused on creativity and mindfulness in writing. So the art of mindfulness and using your 5 senses, not only as a stress reliever to relax, but also to tap into that creativity, to use what's going on around you and in your mind to make a written piece or to write poetry or get those feelings out. I have a workshop for that. I'm working on a workshop that's like the psychology of character development. So like making your character, like from the very basic, you know, are they male? Are they female? Are they good guy, bad guy? To their personalities, those little things that tick. What's their favorite food? You know, were they a popsicle person or an ice cream person? You know, growing up, the little details that make them them. And any other thing that schools would like me to touch on. I've given presentations on STAR and the importance of that. I've given a presentation on the importance of keyboarding and technology in our world. But absolutely, I'm available for virtual presentations, virtual workshops, and you can find me at authorkatelynrenteria.com, and you can contact me through there, and I look forward to speaking with you.
All right. Thanks so much, Katelynn. Once again, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time. All right. Continue much luck and success, and give my best to your family.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see y'all later. Take care, y'all.
Bye.